Hey, this is History 106 Online with Professor Hasselman. As we ended the last lecture, we were discussing the rise of the Optimares and the Populares and the civil wars, the Roman Revolution that was occurring. Now, the struggle between these two factions came to civil war when the Senate resorted to the assassination of Tiberius Gracchus. Tiberius had been elected consul in 133. He proposed a land bill to the Assembly of Tribes that would effectively divide the land and give it to the Roman citizenry. He wanted the citizenry to be independent of the Senate. Now, the bill limited the amount of land to an individual to about 330 acres. He added an allowance for each of two sons, bringing the total amount for any given family to 660 acres. The Senate would not pass his land bill, and so Tiberius went directly to the Concilium Plebis. And as a result, Tiberius and 300 of his followers were killed, the bodies thrown into the Tiber River. The next day, more supporters of Tiberius were rounded up and met a similar fate. Now, the program of Tiberius was taken up by his brother, Gaius Gracchus. Elected tribune in 123, Gaius wanted to transform Rome into a democracy along Hellenic lines. In his attempt to place checks and restraints on the power of the senators, he had the near total support of the public assembly. He also won the support of the assembly by legislating to keep the price of grain sold to citizens permanently low. Gaius built new storehouses, and his road building program kept the citizens at work. He revised the terms of military service, which amounted to a pay raise for soldiers, and he also reorganized the way taxes were collected in the provinces. The Senate would have nothing of this, and so they declared martial law. Now, riots broke out, and about 3,000 of the populares, along with Gaius, were killed. Gaius was beheaded, and his body was thrown, once again, another person thrown into the Tiber. These assassinations show the ugly realities behind Roman political life, and when the selfishness of the Senate was revealed, they resorted to murder. Now, severe weaknesses in the senatorial system were brought into the light during a series of invasions by the Republic, of the Republic, by Germanic tribes to the north of the Danube River. The armies sent by the Senate to dispel this threat were poorly organized, unwilling to fight, and corrupt. The situation was saved by Gaius Marius, a man born into a family recently admitted to equestrian status, but who was politically well connected. Marius managed to raise a professional army on his own. He eventually defeated the Germanic tribes and thus earned the support of the Roman army, which he then began to reform. He abolished the requirement that a soldier must own property. He also accepted volunteers, and as a result, the army was composed of poor men who looked to Marius as their patron. He was elected consul 7 times. In 88 BC, Gaius and his army were overthrown by Sulla, a statesman and a general who made his reputation in the Italian War of the 90s. And in the 80s, civil war broke out in Rome among the factions of the Senate. One group rallied behind Sulla, and in 88 BC, he invaded Rome. Now, the following year, Sulla departed for a campaign against Mithridates, who ruled the kingdom of Pontus on the south coast of the Black Sea. While he was away, rival factions seized Rome. Returning in 82 BC, Sulla once again occupied Rome. Hundreds of his opponents were killed, and he had himself named dictator for life. Now, Sulla used his power as dictator to refashion the Roman state. He believed that there were two forces that had curtailed the Senate's power: the tribunes and strong generals in the army. So Sulla passed legislation forbidding the tribunes to pass a law without Senate approval. He passed another law that prevented tribunes from ever holding another office, thus effectively making the office of tribune unattractive to those men with political ambitions. Sulla then restricted the term of governor of a province to 1 year. This prevented one commander from becoming a hero to his troops and lead a march on Rome. Sulla thus skillfully prevented the rise of another Sulla. Now, the careers of Gaius Marius and Sulla represented the path to political power in the last century of the Roman Republic. There were three stages that both men had followed. The first was to play off the senatorial fear of the masses, as well as the resentment the masses harbored toward the senatorial privilege. This was followed by the appearance of a soldier/hero, who would again play one class off another. A personal army would then be created, and the victor would march on Rome to bring peace and prosperity to the Roman people. I mention this because this pattern was followed by Pompey in the 60s, Crassus in the 50s, and Julius Caesar in the 40s. Now, Mark Antony tried to embark on the same path in the 30s, but was opposed by Octavian, Caesar's grandnephew. Antony seized power at Caesar's death and undertook the elimination of the Senate. However, when Caesar's will was read, it was discovered that not Antony but Octavian was the true heir to the throne. Rather than start yet another civil war, Antony, Octavian, and Lepidus formed an alliance, the Second Triumvirate. The Roman world was now divided between these rulers. Antony got the eastern provinces, Octavian got the western provinces, and Lepidus Sicily and North Africa. Now, Octavian went on to present Antony as an enemy because of his alliance with Cleopatra in Egypt, and he then made a solid alliance with the Senate, and then had Lepidus removed. And by the time Octavian broke with Antony, the Roman people had tired. They had endured 100 years of civil war, they wanted peace, they wanted to enjoy their world, but not constantly defend it. And they were offended by Antony's supposed defection to Cleopatra. Now, at the Battle of Actium in 31 BC, the forces of Antony and Cleopatra were defeated. Both patrician and plebeian patricians and plebeian rallied behind Octavian, who now preferred to be called Augustus Caesar. And with the Battle of Actium, the world of the Roman Republic came to an end, and the new world of the Roman Empire began.